ki khubor ka bate CTV. Lawan Rashaphi taka Frank Motors. Visit Frank Motors or call 7045207973.
MIT University of Meghalaya. Our admissions are now open for the academic year 2024-25. Explore our best courses. Experience global collaborations. Apply today.
All India Bank Officer Consideration Meghalaya haka khandai tri unaitung araja phosau klarake yeki jingdap sanbusan snam ki jingpin kala bank sarkar yeki bank shimen kabla urlong haka khandai tri unaitung ka khandai span re phokhandai yakini ki jingdap sanbusan snam larake habro kuwe keri India marhanong ba Shillong larake haka office terkam jang State Bank of India kebenaran kiti hak bagi noyalam jang All India Bank Officer Consideration Meghalaya Klepen kin mauru shapang jingat lintik beningkong jangi kat South Liki Bank Shimen kum ki bank sarkar san busan snam menshwa. State Secretary jang All India Bank Officer Consideration Meghalaya State Unit ba Davis Lingdo lit hu bagajing penkala ki bank Shimen shaki bank sarkar klairap hadu kata-kata yeki duk kisuk Berhaka Jukupor, ulong bahakeleng keri India ki don hadu nrolak tuli ki Shnong Nongkyndong ki beran hadu kuma prapo persen ki 4 Sngew Myntoi ben pli ki bank account haki bank khana mikini yo iki Myntoi naga sarkar.
Kani ke jingilang golong ba ngia rakhe ka sanpusan snem jonga bank nationalization de kambut ba house nem khatkanai span rup khandai khatkanai tarik banai Julai khatkanai span rup khandai ka sarkar congress hagitu ki snem kapan kalai gini ki bank shimet sheki bank sarkar khatsautli ki bank house nem khatkandai span rup khandai ki ka sarkar kapan kala sheki bank sarkar ting skwa bani to tenga ta ba shwai gata shwa bangin yo ka jing like luit ro kini ki bank ki badon hangni po rijungi ki de ki bank ki bapanya shimet ki de ki bank ki baret henry kini ki bank ki badon shwa pade ki bun ki de ba ki asdang na ta ki abanya khangno ki don ki bank ki mamla ban panya but bun hi ki briu ki baduk busuk kim yo ka jing Myntoi na kani ka jingdon jugini ki bank te house nem khatkhana span rup khandai ka sarkar ka rai ba ya khasautli gini ki bank in penkala shi ki bank sarkar te nadu to ka jing penkala shi ki bank sarkar kawan kuwi ka jing kala ka bayarap yu briu bedok busuk ki briu ki barit baria ki nongkhai ki barit baria berkhot yo ka jing Myntoi jong ani ka bank te hadin kata apat biang house nem sanrutli ki bank ba ki penkala house nem khatkhana spa prabho ki penkala sa hendrutli ki bank ki penkala shi ki bank sarkar Hakani ka sngi khatkanai tarik jong banai Julai arajar apsau kidap sanpusan snem jong ani ka bank nationalization di pangi naliang jong ka aibok ni kwa ngia rakhe tiang skwa pan kren artat ba aibok kadai All India Bank Officers Confederation kadai ka seng jong ki officer jong ki bank ka ba hetam haka India ngia kuntup lang ki member jong ni bro shi India ki badai na brokhot ki bank sarkar bro khar artli ki bank sarkar but ki bank shimetro kini ki private bank kini ki old generation private bank kini ki private bank ki ba manta andre kini ki private bank ki ba nadu menshwa kum ki Dhanlakshmi bank ki Catholic Syrian bank ki federal bank kini prokhoi ki member jongi ki dakhot jongi ke be solang bangi te ka aibok kadai ka seng ka ba hedo jong kini ki officer jong ki bank ang ne po India but kumbang atip mga ngidei artat ki trade union ka ba hedo ha perthero haboro ka ni ka perthai kai bok ka dei ka trade union ka ba hedo te kani ka sngi ngia rakhe bole ba ka dei ka jingkala ka ba kongsan tam namta ki brio jong kani ka ri kani ki jingpen kala jong ki li bank shaki bank sarkar kamdei ka ba yarap tangi ki nong tre bank henrei kapa kongsan ne kadai ban nadu bo ki pen class gini ki bank ne ki bank shimet gini ki bank sarkar kadai ki jing yarap ya berkhot ki brio jong ani gari ka yarap yu duk busuk uyo ka jing Myntoi jong ka bank kaba smusi kolong ba hadu menta ngidon kumba nrulak ki Shnong Nongkyndong henry na kita ki bun hi kumba prapo persen hadu mentar ki padio e kata ka jing Myntoi ba ki padio solang bani ha ki bank kata bagi pareng yong kata ka financial inclusion bani kenthop lang haka kambang haka jingyo thepisa sepisa jong kini gibri beduk hadu mentar ki bun hi ba ki padio henry naliang jong sarkar kedang yele hi bakin yele bania kenthop lang ini gibri ki ba padon account apo kinu ke bank bakin yo ka account jong ka bank bakin yo ka jing mentoi hagini ki snem ki labun gini ki scheme jong ki sarkar ki ba ki briu ki la yo jing mentoi andre kata ki jing mentoi ka long tang lada ki don ki account po kinu ki bank hadu menta hari Nongkyndong hi ki kat bodon gini ki bank ki debit ki bank sarkar kini ki briu Nongkyndong haba ki haban pli account bakin yo itu ki shispas ni kanu ka jing mentoi na leng jong ka sarkar baki khot kini ki social security scheme ki social benefit scheme ka scheme ka baki aina leng jong sarkar kini berkhot ki debit langba jong ki briu ki bodon account apo ki bank sarkar ne kini ki nationalized bank kaba smusi bat kaba smuting jongi menta ka long ba kani ka sarkar kaba menta ka persang ban pen kalab yang pat yakini ki bank sarkar ki bank shmet kawan rai kata baki ong bakin privatize kini ki government bank ki nationalized bank ti menta kani pat kumnu ka khata ingi ka long ba kini ki bank shmet dalili ro kinomia pli account namta kini ki bri ki baduk pusuk bali ba maki ki de ki bank shmet ki ba seng de ki briu shmet ne de ki board of directors jungki but ka jingthu jungi ka long bet bakin kamai private bank ke loan bet ke don bet tang kawi ka jingthu ka long ba ki de ban yo ya ta ka profit ne ka jing yo nong te jaj baki don kata ka jingthu baki de ban yo ba kata ka jing yo nong maki kinum fikir ne kinum don kanu ka jing smulem ne ka jingkit khle namta ki briu ki baduk pusuk ki badai bun na ki bahasa ka ne ka rijungi hari jungi hadu menta ki buni ki de ki briu ki badon hapo aja mata ka pokoti lain bong pat ki bun ki badai kini ki badon kamseng la jongro ki de ki ba kam berit beria ki ba seng ki ba khai berit beria kini lanu ro kinum yo ka jing mentoi ne kini ki bank shmet de hadu menta ka ne ki scheme ki social security scheme lada ki de kini ki jandan yojana ki de ki jing pli account JJD boy kinu ki scheme baki panyat na leng ka sarkar ki panyat be langba jongi ki bank sarkar henre lada ki kala shi kini ki bank shmet ki briu hi ki tu nong te naliang jong ka aibok naliang jong ki we ki seng ki ba yasno ktilang ban ngiro nia prasha jor ya kani ka jing thmu jong ka sarkar bakin pan kala kini ki bank sarkar shi ki bank shmet angilaya don ki bun ki jingya program jongi ki balaya kini ki snem baladep bat dagadi ka jingya telilang jong berkhot ki trade union lengba bat kai bok bat ki we hapo ka banner jong ka UFBU ngilala ban pen sange ka jingtumu jong ka sarkar bakin pen kalai kini ki bank sarkar ki banang shmet ngi kermen banang ni shkmat ro nginang yala ban pen sange ka tang jingtumu jong ka sarkar kani ka wei ka long ba hagini ki sngi ka sarkar pat gale ko no ba kamla ban pen kalai gini ki bank sarkar ki banang shmet kaile ban pen merge gini ki bank ne ban pen kutub lang lai sautli ki bank sarkar ka pen kala shkoi ka bank ka jing ong jung ki ka long ba da kani ka jingle kini ki bank ki barit baria ki bamda biang kata ka balance sheet bong jung ki haba ka sarkar ko ong bangan pen lumlang iki ngan pen kelas koi ka bank ngan pen yeso ini ki bank berit bat koi ka bank ba he kan yarap ban kampen klanyi ki bank andrei kata pat kadi tang jing pen thame kam di sha gumta baleba hadin bagladep ya pen kuntup lang iki ni ki bank ki berit sha koi ka bank ba he bakiong ki merger jong ki bank ki bun ki branch ki badon menshua ki abani khangno menshua nuksa menshua ki don southly ki branch koi ka chaka jong southly ki bank hadin bakila da pen merge ne kila ya kantup lang yaki shakoi ka bank lightly na kita ki southly laban khang laban bu tang kawai ta kita ki lai chaka ki bodon bank menshua kila da khang ki brinong to kin shino te kata gadi kawai ba ngi ko aban ya pen suntui ki pajba ba bali ngi na liang jong ka yu ngi le ban ya persang ba ban ya persai ka ni nalo kata pat sakoi ka long ka jing airam igini ki briu ki beduk masuk ki baong kata ki credit to the low income or to the marginal society pi kini bun nangi ki ba kwa ban seng ka kam la jong ki ba kwa ban ya kamai ni hap hi ban ya wan ki bang bangin ya yo ite jing mentoi bangin yo ite iram i barit baria bangin la ban seng bangin la ban ya im dagani ka jing thumu jong ka sarkar ban pen kalai ki bank sarkar ki bank shmet katu ka credit intake ne katu ka jingai rami gini ki brio ki baduk busuk kan dunano baliba u bank shimet lanu unum ai gini ki ram ki barit baria u bank shimet u perkhat betang jing Myntoi la jong un pet betang gini ki corporates ne kini ki hespa te kini ki baduk busuk ki barit baria pat ki habi banwan chingi handai lada ki bank sarkar ki haban khangno ne ki haban kalano shi ki bank shimet kini ki baduk busuk kini jinjar ba te katu baki khot da ka pharing ka ka priority sector lending ne ka lending ne ka jing ai ram mi kini ki brio ki ba don kam e the priority katu kan khata ngine duna ba pi ki bun kini ki brio ki ba shim ram kadi bi hapo jung arlak ki brio ki barit baria shubu brio ba don ni dukan ni barit baria badi wai dong ni budun dukan Shnong kum gi shni ni bun kini dukan dong barit baria unong rep bukwa ban thiet iwe machine baret baria bukwa ban seng iwe dukan bomut ban thiet ikali kini prokai ki haba to ko priority sector lending bunsin ki debe ki ba po apjo ka arlak hakini ki southern snem nadu ba don gani ka jingya merger ne ka jingya pen yasok lang lai south li ki bank ban kala ka we ka bank ne ka tu ko jing thumu ban pen kala ki bank shimet ngilap ba kani ka priority sector lending ni ki jingai ram mi ki brio ki baret baria ibuduk busuk kala herba kani ka rijungi tikani kakta ayu beduk busuk kakta ayu berkhoi hapadeng gini pade kilabun baki mi kini giba thmai baki khot ki NBFC gade ka non banking financial institution ne constitution kini gide ki barit beya kini NBFC pade ki longum no kini NBFC kimde ki bank kini gide ki ba mi ki company ki wan ki ai ram mi ki brio Pinlap manta ki bun ma ba pilitit jing tiet na ki dukan pilitit ne pinyo ba ki bri ki ba phone ni pi kelami ki office ki ma ba pi ko aram wan chingi pimdon kam ban submit bun tli ki kot pi ko aram shilak arlak lailak sanpho hajar sinrupo hajar ngi nai be kini ki NBFC pe de ki longum no kini ki de ki ba pen ki ba mi ne kini ki bri ki ba shimet ne kini ki corporate maki ki mla ban pli ka bank ki pli de ki NBFC te manta pat yu brio teng usngu ba yu bodok busuk haba ku aram usngu ba iwan ini DFC yong ba ayang atang gini lai teli ko da po arsingi ngan ai pi gani ka pisa tiki kloi banchim henry ka ba ma pat kalong ba kini ki DFC ka sut ba kishim ki pat kalong laisha sausha ya ka tu ka sut ba ki de ban sio kini ki bank sarkar ti sin ba filang ngop ang tu ka tu ka ram ba fishim na ki kanu kanu kam kot kat ba fin kot ka iba pidi ben siu pela siu laisha e ka iba pidi ben yo ne ki bang sarkar telada ka sarkar ka thumu ban pen kalai ni ki bank sarkar ki bank shimet kin bun ki ni ki NBFC but ki brio ki ba dok basuk kin haban siu ka sut ka ba kham he ban ye ka iba ki ben siu henry ka ba snulungo ka ba sngo si ka long ba u he spa bo shim ram pat de ki spa kror ki badai ki don badon jingya dei pat kini ki bahe bahan jong ka sarkar makipat ki sim ka sut ki siu ka sut ka ba kham duna ka ba e ba siu mapi ni unu baduk basu te kata kamot ba hakini ki snem man wan ubahe spa un sim da ka sut ka baduna unang kham spa shushu ubaduk un sim da ka sut ka bahe unang du shushu kani kan yalam chika jingjot kan yalam chika jingsmusi kan yalam chike e ko Sngew ten aliang jong ka AIBOC Meghalaya State Unit bat ka ri berkhot AIBC kan thuplang habor or India ni persha jore ka ni ka jing thumu jong sarkar ban pen class ki bank sarkar ki bank shimet bat ni karpat ya bro ki pajba bakin ya snok tilang pala dadon kono kono ko por ba ni kwa ka jing ya krishan ki pajba ki ni krishan ni namta ka jing bha jong bro namta ka jing bha jong gari ki hespa ngonga ki brio ki ba tiki corporate mo ngamong ki brio ki ba don spolak arpolak hapo bank ki ba shimram arpolak laipolak shikro ngamong itu ngonga ki brio ki bodon pisa di ki spa kror ki ba shuram ki ba shimram di ki spa kror maki dalele ro ka pisa kim juthe hapo ka bank ya kata pia ban sutu boleh ba ka bank ka sut kin yo kan no 9% 5% kat begio bani kata maki ka pisa jogi ka dang kham kha ka dang kham yo nong bun la da ki invest ki business te ka pisa ka bonun hapo ki bang berkhot ka di ka pisa jung duk busuk manga mapi habangi kamai siajar sibnai sanspa sibnai dalaya kensyo ngidon ita silak ita silak ngile kum nung yong badabu hiyo ko kumlut ngile thaba bang kadi kani ka pisa jung ki beduk ka bang ngi penyat na lem jung bang pi ka bang kamla ban sina pisa dalidi ka bang lanunu kamla ban sina pisa dalidi ka bang ngalong kumta kai ka pisa bang yo naki pajba ya ka jo ka pisa ni ai ram shiki wai yu pajba la dang ai interest 100% habang ai ram ngi sim no 9% ita 10% kadi ka jing nong jungi kamut ba ka pisa ka bodon hapo ki bang boro kadi ka pisa jung beduk ti mentapat ka jing sungsi ka long ba utau beduk ukun show khendet wanbu ka pisa po bang ba habang adon kam ram ngan sim hendai haba wan sim usim aga rate 5% 4% khat 8% khat 9% yaitu ko jo ka pisa jung beduk bala kan show ubahe spa pade usim aga 100% katamut kadi ka pisa jonga jungpi ba uhespa upen Myntoi nam tay ladi but beduk ujinjar ya ka jo ka pisa bu latre stom haban simram maka sut ka bahe spa usim ka baret kani prokhoi kadi tang ka jing thmu jong ka sarkar ban yarab ki hespa bat man nyon ki beduk bat kani kanang kham khlan chu lada kini ki bank sarkar ki kalash ki bank simet tian atraw naling jong ai bok ngia rakhe gani kasni ba kadi ka jing kala ka baju ka ba yarab yu brio ya ka ri brokhot ba usnem khat khanai span rup khanai bangi pen kalai ki bank simet ki bank sarkar bat ngi kermen bat ngi dawa jur ba nangnish khmat ki bank sarkar ki mdiban kalash ki bank simet henry ki bank simet ola dalong kumba ka jia shwai ka henrup khanai ki bank simet ha ka usnem khat khanai span rup khanai ka kalash ki bank sarkar kini ki bank simet mentaro ki diban kalash ki bank sarkar kani kan yarap ya ubrio jong kani gari ya beduk besuk ya brokhoi te tangani ngakwa ba brokhoi ki brio jong kani ka jela ki brio jong kani gari kini sungthu pa balengia persai kani ka jingpen kalash ka bank simet but balengi kwa ba kini ki bank private ni ki bank simet kan kalash ki bank sarkar tangani ngakwa bonong bat ngi ai kuble ya prokhot ki brio jong kani ka jela ba hagini kisni kat bang ya don kam kile ya karshaningi bat kile ya bu ka jing shania hangi ki bank sarkar hadu menta haga jela jongi unu brio khamtam boduk bosuk ukloi ban shania ingi ki bank sarkar ban ki bank private kala bandi na kadaw bangi ya don ki jaka ba u bank simet lanu rum la ban pli bat ka ba ba brio boduk bosuk tang ban rung haga jing khang jongi bank simar num not henry ngi na liang jongi bank sarkar ngi priang sungbai ki bali bangi ngi don hangni nam takiri ngi num ta ki brio jongani ka jela ki brio jongani gari bali bangi ngi di ki bank jong sarkar ngi tre nam ta ki brio jongani gari kubli shubot.
So having said this much about the AIBOC, I will start by giving an introduction which my comrade Davis has already done. That on the 19th of July 1969, the then Prime Minister of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, went ahead with a very momentous decision, a decision which perhaps changed the entire course of this country's financial and economic history as such, by nationalizing 14 private banks and taking over their ownership under the government of India, just making nationalized banks out of these 14 banks. And then after some more years, in 1980, 6 more such private banks were nationalized by the government of India at that time. So what has happened is that with the nationalization of banks, the formation of public sector banks, as we are known as PSBs, public sector banks came into existence in the country for the first time since independence. And then what happened is that it opened ways and means for the very poor and downtrodden people of this country to get access to banking, as well as both for deposits, their small deposits, 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 20 rupees during those times, as well as to get credit for their small needs, for farming, for their cottage industries, for small businesses. These kind of loans which were never available to the people of this country prior to this nationalization opened up for them, and the country's actual progress started with this nationalization of the banks. And you see, private banks, we all have a feeling that private banks are more efficient, they are stronger, and government banks are, that feeling is there that government banks are not well run, which is absolutely myth. It is nonsense. Private banks in India, I'll give you a small statistic. since 1935, as many as 1,600 private banks have failed. They have gone out of business. 1,600 private banks, right up to the very recent times when Yes Bank was a bank which came up with a lot of promise. People had Yes Bank. Yes Bank suddenly became no bank, and Yes Bank also failed. And in all these cases, these banks, when they started failing, who took care of these banks? Somebody had to bail out those banks. Somebody had to take care of. These banks also had their depositors. Their money also was going to waste. So it is the public sector banks which came and bailed out these banks, including Yes Bank, which was bailed out by State Bank of India. And prior to that, few years before that, a bank called Global Trust Bank. I did not have any branches here in the northeast. In Calcutta, in Chaurangi, there used to be huge big building of Global Trust Bank, lot of lights and all. People are, that ritzy glitzy thing was there. But then I think within 2-3 years of its starting, it collapsed. And that bank also had to be bailed out by a government bank, by a public sector bank, a bank like ours. Then another advantage of this public sector banks, you see the strongness, the strength of this Indian economy or the Indian financial sector is definitely based on public sector banks. In 2008, as we all know, that the world was facing a global meltdown. Even very, very large banks in the United States were falling apart. And the whole world was in a state of recession. But India, being so much dependent on these public sector banks, we could withstand that global meltdown, as well as during the times of COVID, the pandemic and the lockdown, when the economy of the whole world was in doldrums. In India also we had a lot of issues with our economy, but then because of the help, the strength of the public sector banks, we came out with such positive steps of the people, so that entire effect which was expected to be there did not have that much of an impact, and the economy continued and it continued to grow.
Usnem arjar arpo, uday usnem ubaka pertay barok away ka mat ya ka jingjinjar sosat nagadaw ka jingwan lanshop ka klam COVID-19. Day hakane ka por, baki nongsang Shnong jongane ka jala jongiru, ki im hapdeng ka jingjinjar, ki im hapdeng ka jing kordet, bat ka kim khai, namar balakhang dam lut, ya baro, ya ka yat ka yeng, ka kit ka ba, ka thiet ka pet, nadong syadong. Kum kaway na kilat patay kubor kabalarung siya kikendong kensrot lahasor nila Nongkyndong. Ngilabon jad kijing kibakipad ba kia kendo hagapor lockdown. Kaway na kita kijing kabangi kendo hagapor lockdown kaday kabam.
Habang yong kabam hakajat bin riu jongi nengong deu kau udai upiat kasini kamlu kadok kha batkum ta terter.
Haot. Na pedang kini ki marba kat tu kat ni ngilaban yo na ka jela ka jongiru henry kat no ki babon hi ni haban shania na bar mentang ngila na ki jing ki babaro ya kendu ha ka por lockdown henry kum ka jela ni haban kendet ben riu kenang mangindup la ben penbiang daladi ya ladi la kalong ha ka bam ka di ka kop ka sem ka riam ka ben bat kum ta terter
Lingba kani kubor ya lap ya riu. Inyok bani merjingot kum no bani lap ban poi syakatong bat ban longru kum kata ka rensan ka ban plilat ikipat ba ban penpau iki jing Sngew ke jongki hakakam ba ke jing don kam hakakam bat ba ka sorkaru kan la ban snap ikita ke jing don kam. Amar klem ke jing tailang ke jong upat ba bat ka sorkar ka jala ka numla ban yeng hala ke jong ki kejan.
Tungunya pet menta ki egi jing ki ba khangla ikipat ba jongi bat ki egi jinan kam jongki ka ba ka sorkar ka haban le.
Lengba ka Batesi TV, ngiwan ra yagane ka kubor yalap yari. Habar ben usaipan
Jad bin riu kasan